Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we are talking about 15 lessons which I've learned in the year 2021, and my God, what a year it was for everyone. There were so many changes, so many takeaways that we can kind of go with our eyes open into the new year. So I'm hoping the lessons that I've learned are going to be relatable to you. So without further ado, go grab yourself a drink and let's jump straight into it. So lesson number one is being adaptable, being able to pivot and move at drop of a hat. Because one thing that COVID taught us is that we don't know when something's coming. And are we prepared personally and within business to shift, move, adapt to new ways of working? Because if we're not, we can end up struggling financially, mentally, and that can cause long-term effects. And of course, people are still struggling financially to this very day. So we need to know that going into 2022, we might have to adapt to new ways of working. So just be prepared, and that's a huge lesson taken from 2021. Lesson number two, and that is it's okay not to be okay. Believe it or not, it actually is. And look, I've did a separate video on it. I'll pop it up on the screen, go check it out. There are so many pressures in today's society. Everywhere you look, there is a pressure being put on us. Subconsciously, we feel that we need to meet these expectations that we constantly see around us, that if you're not a 21-year-old and you're not a millionaire, you've failed. If you've hit 30 or 40 and you've not got a successful business, you're not married, you've not got a settled family, you've failed. Like, there are huge amounts of pressure on all of us, and in return, we think that it's not okay to be okay. It's not okay to have off days. You know, perhaps we see too many motivational videos, for example, where it says they hustle 24/7. They never sleep. In order to build that six-figure business or seven-figure business, you don't have time to sleep. You can't take days off. And that's such a weight on our shoulders. And actually, on reflection, I think, do you know what? It's absolutely fine to turn around and say, do you know what? I'm shattered. I can't do any more. I'm tired. I just need a break. I'll go again tomorrow. And that's absolutely fine. And the feeling of being able to rest, but subconsciously we sort of think that's a bad thing, is ludicrous. So because we see it all the time, we've programmed our brains to think actually having a rest is not okay, but it is. I promise you, we need to start giving ourselves a break and actually think a lot of what we see is fabricated anyway, or certainly it's hyped up more than what it looks like. So reminder, it's okay to be okay. That's lesson number two. Lesson number three is only be around positive and supportive people. This is so important. I mean, who are you surrounded with right now that really wants you to do well? And again, I did another video on this about your circle of five. You can go check it out on my video playlist. Is that we only get one chance, and you do become a combination of the five people that you surround yourself with. So it is so important that we learn that if we're not surrounded by good people who want to help us and we help them, then we're wasting our time, because that's something we can't get back. You know, one thing COVID forced us to do is that we had to adapt and network online. We had to build communities online, people from across the world. And that is one of the bonuses which I've learned, is I created 2 accountability groups where, although I can't see them face to face, I'm in a group that I'm surrounded by people who want to do better, and that lifts me up. And when I have my bad days, like I said before, and we all have those days, if you can be around people who are willing to pick you up or relate to you, or, you know, just give you a bit of motivation or a bit of pick me up, those are the people we want to be around. I'm going to make sure going into 2022 that I make a conscious effort that I'm around people who want to help me and I want to help them. It doesn't have to be face to face. Again, we can do everything online. Join a community, join a group, be a part of whatever you need to, go to the right events, and just surround yourself with really, really good people. Lesson number 4 is not allowing negativity. You have to be ruthless. Time is the key word here. You do not get it back. So do not spend 1 ounce of your time and effort giving that to someone else who is negative or doesn't want you to do well. Time is life's most precious asset, and it's one of the only things we will never ever get back. So do not be prepared to entertain those who are negative. We don't owe negative people anything. And what's interesting about COVID is it really exposed people who didn't want to change or adapt, but they just wanted to sit there and moan. And we've all had those people in our lives. And for me, it revealed actually what they were like as a person. Were they there for me? Was I really there for them? It made me question the actual relationship that we had. So I don't want to be around people that wanted to complain about it and not do anything about the situation, who weren't willing to move. I don't like COVID as much as the next. I'm sick of talking about the effects that COVID has had, but we've all had to adapt and change. And I'd rather be with people people that are willing to still move forward than those that are willing to just sit there and moan about the situation. If someone is not willing to accept my dreams and goals and that I'll keep moving forward, and perhaps they just want to be a bit of baggage to me, hold me back, I have to say no to that and I have to cut it off. So just don't entertain negativity. Lesson number 5 is a big one. Perfection does not exist. My God, this is a lesson that even now I have to remind myself. I'm constantly striving for perfection, and I've learned that actually I'm never really going to achieve it. Even with a YouTube video, I always think I don't like that. The amount of outtakes and deletes that I do because it didn't sound right, my face wasn't right, I was looking for perfection. But actually, even in this video, I'm trying to have an open chat with you, and that's even in business. You know, I'm seeking for the perfect client, trying to start the perfect business. It's never going to happen if I keep seeking perfection. The best thing that I can do, and the thing that I've learned from 2021, is that I'd rather make small improvements every time. My first podcast interview in London was not my best, but I learned the second time what I needed to change. And every time I went into London, for example, I made small changes, and I'll continue to do that. And I do that now every sort of part of my life. Even when I work out at the gym, I think I didn't like that this morning, or that wasn't feeling good, or that made me feel bad, or that hurt me, or whatever it might be. You make small changes because the perfection will not be there. So rather than seeking 100% the best version of you, just try and make daily improvements. Lesson number 6, and this is a big one because this is something that we can't escape essentially in the society that we're in, the day and age that we now live and surround ourselves in. And that is the feeling of you're in a race all the time. And I've come to accept, and I'm content in the fact that I'm not racing anyone. I'm not racing another business. I'm not racing another YouTube channel. I'm not racing to get that next client. I will do it in my own time. And if someone's ahead of me, fantastic. I'll cheer you on, but I'm comfortable in knowing that actually my journey might take a little bit longer than yours. I might not be the multi-millionaire by the time you are. I might not own that business that I've wanted, or I might not make that lucky buy in crypto or in an NFT like someone else, but that's fine. I'm content. And we wonder and question ourselves, why haven't we been so successful as someone else? We compare our journeys, and we are literally losing hours of precious time by watching other people and their journeys because we think that we're in this almost unseen, invisible race. So remember, opportunities, they don't actually run out. So understand that it's a journey, it's not a race. And as the saying goes, slow and steady actually does win the race. And I think that's totally true. Lesson number 7, life does actually continue without social media. Believe it or not, it does. I came off Instagram back in August 2021, and I'll be back on it perhaps in the next couple of weeks. So I've had like 6-7 months off, and my life continued as normal. And if anything, as you would have heard me in my video of where I quit Instagram, again, you can go check that video out. My life continued, and if anything, I doubled down on the work I was doing. I completed my book, I brought on new clients, I managed to focus on my YouTube, had more time for family activities, and I just got myself together again. Because Instagram, my God, does it consume you? And it's crazy because so many, including myself, have that daunting thought of, if we're not out there and we're not showcasing what we're doing, we're gonna lose business. No one's gonna know who we are. And I get that because that's the feeling that I had. And we can't build our brand, we can't build the business. It leaves you with a feeling, well, you might as well be under a rock if you're not on, let's just say, Instagram, one of the biggest platforms. And I get it, that feeling of missing out is really daunting, but actually when you make that jump, that leap to coming off Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatever your chosen platform is, actually your life will continue and perhaps get even better. You get time back. It's insane. The hours, I got 8 to 9 hours a week back. Now, I can tell you that I was allowing Instagram to eat and drink before I did. So just remember, no one really cares what you're eating or drinking. Life will continue. And even if you just have a detox, come off for 3-4 weeks. It's not that hard. I dare you to actually do it. Lesson number 8, and it's a big one, is health and routine is my absolute priority. I don't function in anything in my life if I don't work out in the morning. That's my chosen time, my peak performance, and that my health is on point. So when I combine those two, that equals good results. So if I have good health, that's good results. If I work out internally and externally, I'm feeling good, which ups my level of performance. I just feel better overall. And if you feel and look better, the likelihood is you'll perform at a higher level. we all know that feeling of if you miss your morning workout or your evening workout, you're sort of offset for the day where you don't really know what you're doing because you haven't hit that structure in the morning. So that is key. And I missed a few days, and it was just a wake-up call because I thought, wow, my health and routine is such a big part of the foundation of what I do, and actually it's my platform to propel me every single day. So health and routine is my priority. Lesson number 9, forget the money, do you actually enjoy it? And I sat back and I thought, do you know, there were so many times where I chased the money, I chased the big bucks. And why did I do that? Because 1, they didn't always pull off. 2, I had that gut feeling of it's too good to be true anyway. And was I really enjoying what I was doing at the time? And I've learned now that actually in 2021, I've probably paid out more than I've earned. And I'm fine with that because I was enjoying what I'm doing. I'm actually building something and paying out a little bit more. That's fine because I've been enjoying what I'm doing. I've been building sort of several businesses, different ventures. I've been connecting with some incredible people, and the income hasn't necessarily reflected what I would like this year. It hasn't been my biggest earner in 2021, but it's probably been the year where I've really built a strong foundation of a network and new ventures which I can attack in this year, 2022, and going forward. So I used to chase the money, but when you focus on the value and the quality that you can offer your customers or your business, the money does follow. And believe me, if you forget about the money for 5 minutes and just really focus and zone on what you're trying to build and enjoy the process, the money will be there eventually. You just have to be consistent and follow through with it. Lesson number 10, and that is to delegate tasks. I come from a working class background, and this is probably one of the biggest lessons for me actually, which I started doing more and more. And I never thought that I would actually get to this stage. But I come from a working class background where my parents worked really, really hard. They've shown me what hard work truly is. And if they wanted something, they'd work hard, save for it, and then they would go and get it. And they taught that to me and my sister. But my mum and dad are very hands-on. I'm awful at DIY. I can't put a door on. I'm shocking. So I understand that's not my skill set. You know, I can do certain things, but I soon came to realize that instead of wasting my time, when I understood 100% the value of time, and that really has to be drilled into you, I think, over a long period of time. I don't think you get that day one, but when you realize that your time is valuable spent elsewhere, therefore it's worth paying someone or having someone do a skill or a task that they're better at than you, and it's fine to admit that. You know, there's always that saying, there's that one plumber or electrician that is still a solo company, a sole trader, because they don't want to let the work go to anyone else because they believe they're the best plumber, but no one will do the job the best that they can. Whereas I've come away from that, and actually I understand that rather than me doing the gardening, I could have a garden do it. Rather than me cleaning the car for like 2-3 hours, we could have someone clean the car for like 30-40 quid. Rather than me trying to put on a door, I can just pay for someone to put on the door and my time can go elsewhere. And me personally, I used to follow the path of trying to do it, but now I just outsource as much as I can, and I try and get the best price for it. You know, I won't pay through the roof, but I'll certainly try and get the best price. And if it buys me 1, 2, 3, 4 hours in my work, family life, whatever it might be, and I can outsource that, I'll absolutely do that. So start delegating tasks, and that's something that I will take into the new year. Lesson number 11, and that is to have an emergency fund. My God, how many people were shown to not have their finances set up? There's that old saying, it's not until the tide goes out you see who's swimming naked. And I think there was a lot of people swimming naked. It was like a nudist beach. Okay, and my God, I'm so glad that I have my emergency fund in place. And again, I have a video explaining exactly how I set up my emergency fund. Head on to my videos and you can see that. And it just goes to show that although sometimes it's boring, and many people will say, oh, why would I want money just sitting in the bank? It's not doing anything. You know, it's boring. I want to invest in an NFT, a meme stock. You know, let's get that money to work. Actually, it's there for a reason. COVID exposed risk. Businesses that weren't liquid or had cash in the bank dissolved. There's a lot of debt now. The debt is just constantly on the rise. There are businesses that owe millions because they didn't have anything in the bank, because they spent it all. They were over leveraged. It's the same for individuals who didn't have a little safety net, who didn't have a maintenance fund to repair the car, buy that new washing machine that broke down during COVID. So many people did not set their finances up correctly, and many people now are like, oh my God, I need to get an emergency fund or a rainy day fund, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just glad that I had that in place. Thank God I didn't have to use it. it. But what it has taught me is that is a fund that I will never stop topping up weekly and monthly. I will constantly build on that fund until, if I ever needed to tap into it, could live off it for 2-3 years solid. That's my aim. I'll never stop building on my emergency fund. And if you haven't got one already, I know it's boring. Saving's really, really boring. Even long-term investing's boring, but it's something we've got to suck up, and you have to have an emergency fund. Lesson number 12, and this is a very important one for myself, and I need to sleep more. I run off about 4 hours a night, and I have to be totally honest with you, 2021, if I was to sum my feeling up, was just tired all the time, just knackered, you know, putting in the work. And I get it, as entrepreneurs we spin so many plates that there are times where we need to work more hours than the average 9 to 5. It's just a fact, we have to do it. If we're launching a business, starting a new venture, you can't be doing an hour a day. It just doesn't work. You never, you know, it'll take you years to get anywhere. But what I did realize is that living off of 4 hours of sleep was affecting my workouts, was affecting my workload. I was losing concentration quicker. I was fatiguing a lot quicker in early afternoon, whereas I should have been still performing pretty well. So my lesson is to go from 4 hours to 6 hours sleep minimum. I can't have less than that going into the new year. I need to gain some of my energy back so my output can be much more than what it was in 2021. Lesson number 13, but before we do, I have to have a sip of my tea. So, strengthening your mindset. This is a huge one, okay? And I hope everyone can relate to this. 2021 was, and it still will be, by the way, in the new year, was probably and still will be one of the most testing years and years to come for anyone who is trying to achieve their goals, because social media has affected so many people in a positive way, but also in a big negative way, in the sense that, and what I will say, thankfully it hasn't affected me, but I know many people that it has. I've had so many conversations that people are affected because you are constantly exposed to this millionaire lifestyle. If you're not 22 and living in Dubai, driving a Lambo, 2-3 million in the bank, you are a failure according to social media. That's the picture. If you do not have a gym body, you're carved, shredded, and ready to do a weird dance on TikTok and get 30-40,000 likes, jumping up and down, twerking and doing all this kind of thing. And my God, I would never do that. It'd be an awful sight. But if you're not chiseled, you are a failure. That is the image. Let's call a spade a spade. That is what it's portrayed as. And that's just so wrong. So we need to focus on getting our mindset right and just remembering, it's like going to the movies. When you throw a grenade doesn't blow up in fire. That's just in the movies. It's not real. Weird terminology there, but that's the point that I'm trying to make. It's not real. You know, if you see someone, how much is it to hire a Lambo? I could go hire a Lambo right now and portray that I'm driving a Lambo. You know, when I go to London, the Ubers, they're not my Mercedes, they're Ubers. You know, they might cost me 30, 35 quid tops, but the image looks great. So we need to strengthen our mindset and remind ourselves that actually we're doing okay. What I've seen isn't necessarily real. They could have a rich mummy and daddy. I don't know what the situation is, but I'm gonna focus on myself, go back through some of the other lessons that I've talked about, and just remember this invisible weight that we have on our shoulders put on us by social media that is just published everywhere in these motivational videos saying we should hustle 24/7 of every single day. Just give yourself a break, strengthen your mindset and work on that most importantly. Lesson number 14, never stop learning. This is such a big one. Do you ever have days where you don't really do much on your business, you don't do much on your branding or your marketing, perhaps you just have a lazy day, which is fine by the way. What I would say is that my biggest lesson is that I have to remind myself that if I can't do anything else, Aaron, just keep learning. So I would also say to you, plug in an Audible, watch a YouTube, go to the gym, go for a walk, and just keep learning, because whether you crawl, walk, sprint, or you drag it out like a marathon, as long as you move forward and you can learn. And as I put in my recent book, which is on Amazon, I'll pop it up on the screen, self-education equals success and income, is that if you keep learning and you just become this librarian that hoards this knowledge, but then pulls the trigger, is active on that knowledge, you become a key that can unlock any door. And I really mean that in the sense of opportunities are endless because you're so broad in your knowledge and your experience. So keep learning, work on yourself, and education is an absolute must. Finally, lesson number 15, and that is quitting, failure and rejection is all okay. Just embrace it. Take it on the chin, because you will not escape this, I promise you. So when people turn around to you in your ventures or your new business and say, I don't want to know, no thank you. You're contacting 20, 30 people on LinkedIn for finance. They don't want to know. You want venture capital. They say no, it's a rubbish business. Just accept it, smile, move on, because there will be someone that will back you. So personally and within business, because again, we have to remember we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes in both of those areas. But as the old saying goes, if you make a mistake, but it's only once, it was a lesson. If you make it again, then it is a mistake and you're not actually learning. And a failure is really only a way in which didn't work. So what do? You just try again. And if someone rejects you, then they weren't the right person to work with you in the first place. You know, you keep pitching, you keep speaking to people, keep networking. Failure, rejection, quitting, it's just a part of the journey. And actually, I can tell you what it will do. It's something I've learned for myself, is it toughens you up to the point where you almost smile at rejection and you're like, okay, that's cool. I'm just going to move on. So those are my 15 lessons from 2021. I hope you enjoyed this video and perhaps related to some of my lessons. It would be amazing if you would share 3 of your lessons from 2021 in the comments below, and I will look to reply to every single one of you. Again, if you did like this video, please do hit like and subscribe, and look, share it if you will. And until the next video, I'll see you all very soon.